Good evening, you're watching eNCA Moneyline, your money guide. My name is Sikim Kabateli. Here's what's coming up. South Africa's wine industry is helping the country increase job opportunities. New data by Stats SA shows that the number of South Africans living in poverty has increased since 2010. And we take a look at a prepaid card that is making it easy for South Africans without bank accounts to transact. But first, your top stories. It seems wine is recession-proof. Even through the worst financial years, the wine industry has grown at a substantial rate. From 2008 to 2013, wine sales have increased by over 17 percentage points, and it's also proving to be a major contributor to job creation.
For some, it might be an acquired taste. But looking at the statistics, it's a taste that more and more people are taking to. A study shows the industry contributed 36.1 billion rand to the economy in 2013.
What we've calculated, if we take the industry plus all its spillover effects into the rest of the economy, then you're talking about more than 1% of GDP. So yes, sure, certainly it's a very strong player. But I want to get back to, I think the important points are the exports, because that brings in foreign currency.
While thousands of jobs were created in 2013, the number of unskilled workers dropped slightly. Fink says this is not necessarily a bad thing.
The whole South African agricultural sector is undergoing this transition from low-skilled, unskilled workers into more highly skilled, more workforce. And in that respect, the wine industry is leading the way. I mean, this is, so it's definitely happening in this industry, and it's a good thing.
It seems the global economic downturn and the recent farm workers' strike in the Western Cape didn't have much of an impact. In 2013, exports peaked to 525.6 million litres. SA's Wine Industry Information and Systems says it's not international consumption they're worried about.
I think what stood out, we need to focus on our domestic market. I think we can grow the domestic market to do an equal or better contribution to the economy.
The industry says it's looking forward to the impact of the new EU trade agreement, which increases tax rebates on South African wines. Bonga Dlulane, Cape Town.
South Africa's informal sector lost 65,000 jobs in the 6 years to 2014. That's left 2.3 million people employed in the unskilled market. Stats SA says the sector plays a much bigger role among blacks and coloureds. The formal sector, however, gained close to 700,000 employees in the last 5 years. According to Stats SA, 1 in every 5 people employed in the formal sector has at least a matric qualification. That's compared to 1 in every 3 in the formal sector. Services and trade industries dominated employment opportunities in both the formal and informal sectors. South Africa's total unemployment rate currently stands at 25.4%. There are more people living in poverty in South Africa now than in 2010. That's according to Stats SA's report on poverty over the past 5 years. 1 out of 5 South Africans lived below the poverty line in 2010. This has gone up slightly to 21.5%. According to the report, the cost of living has also increased, but South Africans still enjoy higher living standards compared to other countries. That's because the country's food poverty line is almost double the international line for extreme poverty. The report will help determine how much money is spent on social grants and the access that people have to free government services. For more on the report released by Stats SA today, I'm joined by Padile Hutla, who's the Statistician General. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Let's start off with how the survey is actually conducted.
Surveys on poverty are conducted by looking at one important survey, or deriving information from one important survey, which is the income and expenditure survey. This income and expenditure survey gives you a basket of goods and services that families or households buy. And these household baskets are categorized in terms of those that are bought by the poor, those that are bought by the rich, and so on. Out of those, you draw poverty lines, and there are 3 poverty lines. One which is food poverty, the lower bound poverty line, and the upper bound poverty line. What you do in these kinds of surveys, from time to time, given new information, you rebase. What we have done in this instance is to rebase our information on poverty based on the 2010-2011 income and expenditure survey. And in the rebasing process, we found out that the minimum amount of money for food poverty is 335 rands instead of 321. When you apply that new line, it means that more people were slightly in poverty than we reported previously.
Yeah.
So you see that there's 20% that moving to 21.7%, and then poverty gap increasing from 11% to 14.5%. What we have also done is to experiment with provincial poverty lines, because different provinces experience different price level indices.
All right, you've also looked at the austere poverty line, and that's the threshold where people have to give up certain things in order to get other things. What did you find there?
There is the first poverty line is the 335, which we have revised upward. The lower bound poverty line is in the region of about 400 and something. And then the upper poverty line is 770 rands. And when we applied these poverty lines across provinces, we find that Mpumalanga on the upper poverty line is 200 rands more than the average poverty line, followed by Gauteng. Whereas on the food poverty line, Northern Cape is even lower than the pre-rebased poverty line at 310 compared to 321 rands per person per month.
Overall, what would you say has changed between 2010 and now? What's led to this increase in the number of people being below the poverty line?
The effects of rebasing are basically that you actually get new information. For instance, things like airtime, eating patterns change. Consumption patterns changed between 2000 and 2005. And when we ran the study in 2010, 2012 and started analyzing the data, we find that patterns have changed. Previously, the poverty lines were progressed through adjustment by consumer price index, which is the cost of living over time. Now, you cannot continue doing that. In the presence of fresh data, you need to rebase. So the changes that we see are a consequence of changing rather rebasing or changing the baseline. And of course, the changing the baseline suggests that more people have been in poverty than we reported previously. It's a common standards that you apply statistically and in statistical organization of rebasing, including in national accounts. If you call that Nigeria rebased its GDP, and then suddenly the GDP ballooned. So rebasing is a practice, and in this instance, this is what it has revealed.
And very quickly, how would this kind of information help with policy formulation?
I think, well, the information is there for policy to deal with. In fact, if you look at the data, it therefore suggests a number of things in terms of social grants, in terms of labor arrangements, salaries, and so on. However, there is also a cocktail of services that South Africa provides for its citizens to cushion the effects of poverty. Those, I think, have to continue. Is new information that is showing changing patterns of consumption and preferences of consumption by the public.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time today. That was Statistician General Paddy Lehuhla joining us from our studios in Pretoria. Now, local retailer Edgars has launched a cost-cutting plan that may include job losses. The debt-burdened company is looking to save money to pay off its debts. The owner of Edgars says the job cuts are likely to occur at its head office south of Johannesburg, but it hasn't confirmed how many people it plans to lay off. There have been concerns about Edgars' ability to repay bondholders. In September, financial services giant Morgan Stanley declared the company's capital structure unsustainable. Edgars currently employs around 20,000 permanent staff. Its debts are estimated at around 2 billion rand. Some good news for wholesale and retail workers. The minimum wage has risen by between 6.1 and 8.1%. According to the Labour Department, this came into effect on Sunday and will remain applicable until the end of January 2016. The increase applies to workers such as cashiers, clerks, displayers, forklift operators, security guards and merchandisers. The new minimum wage will range between R12.66 per hour for trolley collectors and R33.99 per hour for managers. And now for some good news for motorists. The price of all grades of petrol will drop by 93 cents a litre come midnight tonight. The diesel price will go down by R1.02 a litre and paraffin by R1.36 a litre. The Department of Energy says the price drop is due to the decrease in the price of crude oil. Analysts believe this may not be the last for 2015, but a few factors could turn the tables.
If there's a sharp depreciation in the rand for whatever reason, that can also have a negative impact on the fuel price and obviously working through to the consumer. But for the current moment, I believe that the consumer for the near term will still be able to reap the benefits of what has happened in terms of the oil price working through to domestic fuel prices.
And after the break, we take a look at mobile banking. You're watching eNCA Moneyline, your money guide. Stay with us.